You've felt this, right? You're humming along inside some software you use, doing your thing. Everything feels intuitive until you hit that wall. That point where you need to do something related to payments, maybe sign up for a premium tier, check your transaction history, or even just buy something in the tool. And suddenly things get, well, awkward. A redirect, maybe, a clunky form, confusion, and then poof, you're gone. You just abandon the task, maybe even leave the software completely.
It's such a common experience, isn't it? And it really highlights something critical that I think is easy to overlook.
Right.
We often view payment flows as just, a technical necessity, a required step.
You got to get through it.
Exactly. But that moment you just described, that
Yes.
awkwardness, that's where the payment experience can actively drive users away from the software itself.
You'd think the payment step is just that final hurdle, right? But according to the source material we're diving into today from NMI, it can actually create the drop-off point.
Yeah, that article really nails this problem. It defines user drop-off in this specific context pretty simply. It's just the difference between the number of people who start doing something related to payments
Okay.
and the number who actually finish it. And while, sure, some factors are things you can control, like genuinely bad design,
Right.
the article points out a major external factor, just plain old distractions.
Pop-ups, notifications, maybe the dog needs to go out.
Exactly right. And the article makes, I think, a really insightful point here.
Hmm?
The second a user is forced to leave your platform to complete some payment task, especially if it means opening a new browser window or tab, their focus becomes incredibly vulnerable. It's like opening a door to everything else happening online or offline.
And the chances of them getting sidetracked and just not coming back, they spike.
Dramatically.
So the core problem, as the source lays it out, is this forced departure, leaving that nice controlled software environment you've built. Where specifically does the article say this tends to happen most often in a payments workflow?
Well, it highlights three key areas where users often get sort of punted out of the main software experience. The first is during the process of actually signing up for payment services.
Okay, the onboarding.
Right. And this process, it often requires putting in a lot of sensitive information, inherently high friction stuff.
Right, so you're already asking a lot from them, and then you might potentially ask them to leave your app to do it. The article talks about building these forms in versus redirecting, right?
Correct. Redirecting them to some external site is often seen as maybe faster or cheaper to implement at the start. Looks appealing, especially if you just want to get something up and running quickly.
Get it live.
Yeah. But as the article really emphasizes, it immediately takes the user out of your carefully crafted software ecosystem and throws them onto the open web. That's where distractions are rampant. Or, maybe even worse, they might start looking at alternative solutions while they're out there.
You've basically lost their contained attention right at a really critical onboarding point. Okay, so that's sign up. What's the second big area the article flags?
The second point it makes is around accessing detailed reporting. Think about comprehensive payment reports. They're often complex applications in their own right. Building all that functionality directly into your software platform, that's a significant undertaking. So it's very common, and often necessary really, to use external reporting portals provided by a payments partner.
Which, again, means the user has to leave your platform.
Precisely. So every time a user needs to check their payment data, maybe generate a report, they're being asked to switch contexts, even if it's just a click away. That mental shift, the act of navigating somewhere else, no matter how seamless you try to make it, it's another opportunity for them to get pulled away, lose their train of thought, and potentially not return to what they were doing in your main software.
Okay, so we have signing up, checking reports. What about the most direct interaction? I mean, the actual act of paying or checking out.
That's the third point the article highlights. If your software involves selling products or services directly to users, whether it's a digital good, a subscription upgrade, maybe even a physical item, the checkout process itself is a prime candidate for drop-off. Using an external checkout system that redirects users to a new tab or window, it introduces that exact same friction we've been talking about. This is where you see those classic shopping cart abandonment issues pop up. Keeping that payment flow contained within your software just creates a much smoother, more focused experience. It dramatically reduces the risk of them getting distracted or confused and abandoning the purchase.
It really sounds like the overarching principle from the article is crystal clear. Keep the user inside your software environment as much as humanly possible.
That's absolutely the fundamental takeaway. Embedding the payments experience directly into your platform is presented as the most effective strategy, period, for minimizing these payments-related drop-offs.
But, I mean, building complex payment integrations from scratch, That sounds like a massive project. Is that really the only way to embed? Does the article offer other options?
The article is quite practical on this point. It acknowledges that building everything in-house requires, substantial time, resources, specialized expertise. Not everyone can do that.
Right.
So the source acknowledges that when building from the ground up isn't feasible, or maybe just not desirable for your strategy, the next best approach is to white label any necessary external experiences.
White label, meaning if they do have to go to an external page, make sure it still looks and feels like it's part of your brand. Your logo, your colors, the same messaging.
Exactly. The goal is to make that transition, even if they technically leave your domain, feel as continuous and less jarring as possible. By applying your branding to those external touch points, maybe it's an onboarding flow, maybe it's a reporting dashboard, you reduce that sense that they've completely exited your ecosystem. It helps maintain trust, reduces that cognitive load.
Okay, so white labeling is crucial if you absolutely can't fully embed. But let's circle back to embedding then. How does the article suggest bringing the experience inside without necessarily building every single component yourself?
Well, the article discusses choosing between different integration methods, specifically embedded versus API-driven. One really accessible way to embed, often presented as easier, is using low-code options, things like embedded forms.
Okay.
Your payments technology partner might provide pre-built code snippets or, templates that you can simply integrate into your existing page structure.
So that sounds like a much lower barrier to entry than doing a full custom build.
It definitely is. It's highlighted in the source as a cost-effective and relatively low-friction way to keeping users within your software's walls without needing deep payments development expertise on your own team.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the other approach mentioned, the API-driven one? Where does that fit in?
So API connections, they offer the highest level of control and customization. That's where you can build truly bespoke payment experiences that are perfectly tailored to your user's workflow within your software.
More powerful, but probably more work.
Generally, yes. But this is where you can get really smart about the experience, like pre-populating forms with data you already have about the user, eliminating steps, drastically reducing those friction points during sign-up or checkout.
Gotcha. So low code for maybe faster, easier embedding when that fits, and APIs for maximum control, and a really deeply integrated, tailored feel. And the article suggests these methods can work for all three areas we talked about: sign up, reporting, and checkout.
Yes, exactly. The choice for each specific workflow really depends on factors like how much control and customization do you actually need? What technical resources do you have available? What's your overall strategy for that specific part of the user journey?
Right.
And the article points out that even with API integrations, a good partner can often provide support, documentation, maybe even templates to make the process more manageable than a truly from-scratch build might seem.
It really makes you think differently about your payment infrastructure provider, not just as a processor, but as a strategic partner who offers different options rather than just a one-size-fits-all solution.
Absolutely. The source really emphasizes that for any software platform, having the flexibility to choose how you integrate payments is paramount. It's key for crafting the optimal experience for both your users and, frankly, your own business operations. The article points to NMI as an example of a provider offering this kind of modularity and choice, allowing businesses to select the right tools, whether it's fast, no-code embedding for one thing or robust APIs for another to fit their specific needs and their development capabilities.
It definitely reinforces this idea that payments aren't just, necessary technical plumbing piece you tack on at the end. They are a crucial part of the user journey that requires really thoughtful design and integration, just like any other core feature of your software.
That's exactly right. And even if, for whatever reason, you do find you need to send users to an external page sometimes,
Yeah.
the article keeps circling back to that fundamental point. If a user clicks a link expecting one thing, and lands on a page that has a completely different look and feel, different logo, different colors, maybe even slightly different language, it creates this instant cognitive dissonance.
The disconnect.
Yeah, they might pause, feel unsure, wonder if they've been redirected to the wrong place, or even start questioning the security of the whole thing. It erodes trust and significantly ramps up the likelihood they'll just abandon the process right there.
Whereas a cohesive, branded experience builds confidence.
Exactly. Even across technically different environments, it builds confidence and helps them stay focused on completing the tasks that they started.
So the common thread here, whether we're talking about full embedding, using low-code tools, leveraging APIs, or even just properly white labeling those external points, it's all about creating a seamless, integrated payment experience that feels like a completely natural part of the overall software journey.
By being strategic and proactive about these potential drop-off points, and by choosing integration methods that prioritize keeping the user engaged within your environment whenever possible, you dramatically improve the user experience.
Which, for any software platform, ultimately means more completed actions, happier users, and turning what many might just see as a cost center, payments processing, into potentially a significant driver of revenue and user retention.
It truly transforms the payment process.
Yeah.
It goes from being a potential obstacle, a point of friction, into a fluid and ideally positive interaction right within the platform.
So this deep dive into the NMI article has really driven home how critical optimizing these payment flows really is. Keeping them as embedded and seamless as you can is key to combating that user drop-off. We've unpacked those specific friction points the source identifies, sign up, reporting, checkout, and explore the different strategies, from white labeling external interfaces to leveraging low-code tools and powerful APIs for full customization. Well, we hope this deep dive encourages you to continue exploring how thoughtful design, even in areas we might traditionally think of as purely technical, can actually have such a profound impact on user satisfaction and your business outcomes.